Yo, what is up, y'all? Welcome back to the Father Built Podcast. This is where we build up men in holiness, healthiness, happiness, aiming to give men the tools to build their house of legacy. I am your host, Bobby Peacock, and we are back. Let's go. It is so good to be back on the mic after so many months of, a lot of things went on, but that's what we're here to talk about today. Give you guys kind of like an update on like what's going on in my life, and what's happening. And, so I'm excited. If you haven't already, feel free to follow me on YouTube, Instagram. You can either DJ_Peacock or the Father Built Podcast. We're streaming on YouTube, Amazon, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So yeah. Let me tell you, this year has been a very interesting year for me. And I feel like this happens all the time, that I start the year off super, super well with the best intentions and with everything, and staying strong and hitting it hard, like life hard, getting in the gym. And then something happens that either one triggers me or I get off balance, and it just kind of pushes me, and I just quit. Whether it's like the podcast, whether it's, going to the gym or certain other areas in my life. And, I also get distracted. And it happens. And I'm just being honest. I'm being transparent with y'all in this. And so I'm going to be super honest and super transparent in this podcast to tell you like what's going on in my life and what I've been struggling. And I remember I was talking with a friend, and it's very interesting because like I'm recording this episode of the podcast, and it's been a year since my friend has been missing. And I was talking with a very close friend of mine, and we were talking about how like this thing has been in the back of my head, and it seems like it's a responsibility that I have to take ownership of, and I haven't let go because I don't necessarily need to take ownership of what, him going missing. And it's horrible, and I don't want to keep bringing light to that, and it sucks. But I remember last year, it was like either like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month before he went missing. The Lord put a prompting in my heart to reach out to him. Like the Holy Spirit put a prompting in my heart to reach out to him. And I didn't. And I feel like that one little thing has been really just like digging deep at me, constantly just digging at me and really hurting me and like honestly triggering me, because I feel responsible. Because like the way I look at it is, maybe if I would have reached out to him, things would have been different. Maybe that would have changed the trajectory of like his life, but I didn't do that. And so now I feel responsible, but I can't own that responsibility. And so I've been holding that in, and then also realizing like, how am I supposed to move forward and move on and be strong when there's hurting people out there, and I feel responsible. But the reality is I can't hold on to that any longer. And so I had to take a moment to just let go. Like really, really, really let go. And this is going to sound so cliche, but like let go and let God. And so that's where I'm at. I'm in that season. And so that was one thing that was holding me back. And then another thing that God has really been convicting me on, and what I've been really walking through in this season of my life is it's really this. And it's man, it's so interesting. Um, like I am loyal. I am loyal to certain people in my life, like my 12. Like, like I am, I got that golden shepherd energy, you know what I mean? Um, or that, a Great Dane or whatever kind of dog, pit bull energy. I mean, I do got pit bull energy too. Um, not like the artist, but like the dog, like, hey, listen, I take care of my people. But to me, I have been in the season of pouring into other people's visions. And what is ending up happening is I'm neglecting the vision that I have in my heart, or the calling that I have in my heart, because I'm so invested in other people's visions, what other people wants to do. And like I am at this place where like I can't do it anymore. Because the way I look at it is like, imagine this, like God has given you something so amazing, so beautiful to steward really, really well. But you are going after someone else's calling and neglecting your calling. And so at some point, God's going to be like, all right, I tried. I'm going to move on to the next person. I'm going to move on to the next thing, because you are not stewarding what I have given you well. And I'm just going to be honest and transparent. That's where I'm at, is I haven't been stewarding the calling that God has placed on my heart with this podcast really, really well. So for the past 3 months, I have been building behind the scenes, doing some really cool things. As you can see, if you're watching this, I am wearing a really cool sweatshirt. And I've been testing some things. It's the Father Built sweatshirt. It's a really dope sweatshirt. And I've been doing some things behind the scenes, whether it's merch, whether it's website, whether it's figuring out content, so that I can really go after this, because this is the calling that the Lord has placed on my heart. This is something that I can no longer neglect anymore. Like I have to be consistent, because people are watching. Like part of this podcast is for it to be a catalog for my son to go back and watch late years down the road, so that he can grow in his faith as well. And so that is where we're at. And so I have to own this. Nobody else can own this except for me. And I want to bring this to you guys too, because like God has placed a calling on your life. He has brought something, visions and things into your life, right? And you have two options. You can ignore it, which that's what I've been doing, or not necessarily ignoring it, but you can ignore it. You can neglect it, or you can pour into it. And so ignoring it means like, hey, I'm just going to live my life and I'm going to do my own thing. And neglecting means I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to pour a lot of time into it or effort into it. Or really pouring into it means like, hey, I'm going to take the steps to really pour into this thing, to bring to life what has been placed on my heart. And I know if you're listening to this, that like God has placed things in your heart and you're like, I don't know how to do it. But to me, it goes back to like how, like God doesn't necessarily, call, what's that saying? God, it's something, my mind is like, I'm wandering here, but God equips the call, not calls the equipped. So you may be like, hey, I'm not equipped for this. Like I don't know how to do this. But if God has called you to it, he's going to equip you with the tools, with everything that not everything that you think you need, but everything that he thinks you need. So, like for me, I've said this before. I have the lights, I have the cameras, I have the mics. The last thing that I struggle with is the action. And the action is really tough. And for me, it's like I have to get to that action fast. I have to not only get to that action, but I have to be consistent in that action. So I am taking steps to be consistent. And that's what I've been working on. Like recently, I took a week off to reset because I want to end this year off so strong. I want to end the year how I started it before something in my life either triggered me or set me off my balance. And so I'm in the season of finding my balance again and really, really going after it. And that's just me. And so some of y'all that are listening to this is like, man, like I may be struggling with the same things that Bobby is struggling with whether it's his podcast or doing this or whatever. And I have these pipe dreams, but I'm not really going after it. Or God has placed this calling on my heart and I'm not really going after it because I don't feel equipped or whatever. And I have this dream and this other thing and I'm not going after it because I can't be consistent. You have to be consistent. Like I met with a mentor of mine actually yesterday, and my timer is going off. Gotta switch that. But I mentored or I met with a mentor of mine who was a mentor of mine, and he's walked with me through some really, really hard things in my life. And he's like my spiritual dad. And he's just an amazing man of God. And it's so crazy because like the past sermon was talking about like pouring into people and then having people pour into you and mentorship. And it was like I had this week off and I got to meet with him. And he talked about boring habits. And how boring habits make for basically a better way, a better future, a better thing if you stay consistent in these boring habits. And I'm like, man, like I look at people that are like hitting the gym and they're going after it. And they're looking good. Like I have a friend of mine who's a bartender, and he kind of called me out a little bit. He's been getting the gym like really well, and he's lost like 30 pounds. And I'm like, hey, you looking good? He's like, yeah, you should get there, dog. And I'm like, yeah. But like people may see his results, but they may not see the journey that took him there. Like he went from, and it's not my story to tell, but he went from this guy who was a party animal who did some very sketchy things, drinking all the time, to alcohol and all this other stuff, and to like, I mean, I think he's almost a year sober, to losing weight and staying consistent. You want to talk about consistent? Let's talk about that guy. And like, to me, like, I'm just going to say his name, Cam. If you ever listen to this, I just want to publicly say that I'm proud of you, bro. And like, you are out there killing it, and like, you deserve the best. And I'm so excited for you to continue on the journey that you're continuing, because you are an inspiration. And yes, one day you will be on a podcast, but you got to watch this episode and then reach out to me if you want to be on the podcast. But this dude is killing it. And he called me out and he's like, dude, just imagine. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm seeing the results in him. And I'm like, okay, yes. And I'm seeing results in my friends, but I'm over here not doing anything. And so I'm battling that. Um, and it's something that has constantly been like, the Lord has been revealing to me is like, hey, Bobby, you have all the accountability that you need. The only accountability that you are lacking is self accountability. See, I can go to my friends and I can be like, hey, can you hold me accountable for this? Can you hold me accountable for this? Can you help me do this? But if I'm not owning it, that accountability is not going to do anything for me. Like, they talk about the first step of addiction is admitting that you have a problem, right? Well, and I think that's the first step in any area of your life is that you have to admit that there are things that you are struggling with. But the next step is like, okay, taking that step and saying, okay, I'm holding myself accountable. Like, I know what to do, and now I have to do it. And like, even when I was meeting with my mentor, I was talking to him through these things. It's like, hey, I know the right things to do. I'm not doing them. And he's all like, if you don't know if you're not doing the right things and you say you know them, then you truly don't know them. You truly don't understand them. I'm like, that was like a punch me in the face while I'm down. That's literally been this whole week of getting punched in the face while I'm down. But yet, like, because of that, I'm going to be able to rise up. And so like that self accountability is like, before you ask somebody else to be accountable, to help you be accountable, you have to be accountable to yourself. You have to be accountable to you. And that's something that I am learning in this season of my life. And I may, like, the reason why like I'm talking about these things is because this is something that I'm literally walking through. I am not perfect in any of these areas of my life. And like, the reason why I'm doing this episode right now is so that you guys can just hear some of the struggles and some of the things that I'm going through right now. And I'm like talking as in a message, but like as I'm talking, like I'm talking to myself. Like, this is me talking to me right now, saying like, Bobby, like, you got to be self-accountable. You got to take care of yourself. You have to have that self-care. And then you also have to be aware. Like, you have to be aware of like what's going on in your life. You have to be aware of like what steps you need to take to better yourself, and not just because of you, but because of your why. And what's my why? My why is my son. My why is the next generation, after, like the third generation. I want to see my grandkids, and so like for me, it's like, okay, I got to do my best to break off these generational curses and go. I just have to go. And like, I was watching a video on social media, and the YouTube channel was called like Yes Theory or something like that. Free shout out to them, whatever. And there's this yes theory of like, yes, just say yes, just say yes, just say yes. Like, oh yeah, I want to take a trip. Yes to that trip. Oh, I want to do this. Yes, yes, yes. I'm coming out with a no theory. And what the no theory is basically just saying no to everything that is outside of what the Lord has called you to do, or everything that is outside of your priorities. And so for me, it's like, I'm so good at saying yes and helping people, but when I say yes to something, I am saying no to something else. And so it's like here's just an example. Like, recently I had someone come up to me, and they wanted me to help them in a certain way. And I've actually, this is okay. I'm just going to be real and raw. This has been multiple times where people have come up to me and said, hey, like, I need your help in this area of my life, or this area of my life, or this area of my life. And I realized, like, to one of them, I literally texted him, and he's one of my 12, and he knows this, and he called me and he said, dude, like, I'm proud of you for doing that. But he's like, hey man, like, I want to start a band, and like, I want your help. And I literally had to tell him, like, hey bro, like, in this season of my life right now, like, I have to stop saying yes to things, and I have to start saying no. And so during this time period, I can't. And then in the past couple of weeks, I've had a couple people come up to me just saying, like, hey, I'm starting this, I'm starting that. Like, I need your help. And for me, it's just like, I don't have time to invest in them. And it's hard for me to say that, because everything in me wants to be like, yes, I want to invest in you. I want to pour into you. But if I'm neglecting God's calling on my life, like, I'm empty. And so even if I'm pouring good stuff into them, it's taking away from what I can be pouring into when it comes to my calling. And so where I'm at right now is I'm saying no. And I'm not being like a jerk about it or anything. I'm just saying, like, hey, like, one of my responses one time was like, hey man, like, I would just suggest you go ask ChatGPT. Like, I'm gonna help you. Or like, hey, I don't have time to invest in this because I'm busy over here. And you know, there's another video that I was watching, and like, people, like, I had an opportunity to sit down with like to help with hosting an artist. And the way I got introduced to them was like, hey, this is my homie Bobby. He is a jack of all trades, a master of none. He's like that. What's that knife? He's like that He's like the Swiss Army knife, you know, kind of thing. And I'm like, yeah, he's absolutely right. But I don't want to be a Swiss Army knife anymore, because I've been watching these videos of people who are wealthy or people who are staying consistent in their lane. And they're like, hey, you do one thing really, really well. And they said exploit. They exploit that one thing. And that's how you become like a millionaire. My voice just cracked and it kind of threw me off. And I was like, man, like, I'm so focused on whether it's like pouring into other people's visions, DJing, videography, photography, creative consulting, you know, being a director of photography, being a cameraman, you know, doing all these things. And then the one thing that I should be consistent in, I'm not. And so I'm like, okay, a pastor, my old pastor, who moved, he used to say it this way. He's like, if you're juggling more than 3 things, like, the average person can juggle like 3 things. Like, if you're juggling balls or whatever, you can juggle 3 things. But once you add that 4th in, you know what they start calling you? What do they call you? Think about it. You go to a circus, face paint. They call you a clown. I'm like, I want to be a clown. And I know there's 7 areas in my life that I focus on. But I can tell you that those 7 areas that I focus on fall under 3 categories. And so, you know, like, if you want to know what those 7 things are, go back and watch like the 1st or 2nd episode of this podcast. And so I'm just like, man, like, I have to get after it. I have to go. And like, the Lord has been like making that so heavy on my heart and prompting me and telling me like, go. But yeah, I'm like, no. And so I want to do one thing really well. And the one thing that I want to do really, really well, you know, be outside of like being a father and being a believer and stuff, like, when it comes to like what the Lord has called me is I want to do this podcast really, really well. I have so many things that like God is wanting me to do with this podcast that I need to do this really, really well. And I feel like I owe you guys like an apology because by me neglecting this podcast, there's some of you that are listening to this and you're growing from it, and I appreciate it. I get the text, I get the the notifications, and I want to say thank you. But I'm sorry that I've been neglecting this. And I hope that y'all forgive me. But I want to do this one thing really, really well. Yeah. I heard it once said that you can be in one of three places: where you have started, that means being stagnant, or you are running the race and running it with purpose. So, so the three places I said too, is where you have started, or not even started, or you can be running. And so we'll start with the first one. Like I talked about this earlier, where it's like, hey, I'm so fearful of starting because I don't feel equipped. I don't feel like I have all the tools. This is nerve-wracking. But you got to remember your why. Maybe it's something that God has placed on your heart. Maybe it's something that you've had a dream, you had a vision for. Maybe it's something that's on your bucket list. Remember your why. Because if you stay there and you haven't even started, someone else is going to start it and they're going to do it better than you. Or maybe you have started, but you're stagnant. You took one step and you're like, oh, that was a great step. You took another step. That's a great step. And then you stopped because you weren't consistent. For example, this guy. Just being honest. I'm just being honest and transparent. This is hard to admit. This is not fun for me. This sucks. Yeah. Like parts of me don't even want to release this, but I need to. And so maybe some of you guys are in the same position that I'm in, where it's like there's no self-accountability. You take a couple steps, you do really well, and then you fall back into old habits, old ways. And this could be any area of your life. Well, just 1%. Like small, consistent habits, boring habits over time will make you great. And then there's people out there that are running the race and absolutely killing it. And I have homies that are doing this. And to those homies, like, for example, my bartender friend, he's out there killing it. It's funny because, like, every day, like on Wednesdays, I'll go and see him and just hang out with him, checking in on him kind of thing, and see how he's doing and stuff. And every day, like I go in, he gives me one of these flexes. If you're listening, sorry you can't see it, but if you're watching this on YouTube, he gives me one of these. And like last Wednesday when I saw him, it was so cool because he's like, bro, like I was like, bro, you looking good? He's like, yeah, man. He's like, dude, I'm getting big, man. And yeah. And then like another friend of mine, like I had a really transparent moment with two friends of mine. One of them is in my 12, and then the other one was like a really close friend of mine that we used to work together. And he told me he had one goal, and his one goal was to see his abs at one point in his life. And let me tell you, this dude is jacked, and he did it in 6 months. And so for me, it's like, yes, run the race. Even if you, like I always tell people, you got to crawl before you walk before you run before you sprint. And sometimes, like when it comes to running the race, um like we want to sprint it out because we don't know what that cadence is. And I, like my son, he's in soccer right now, and I mean he's having he's having fun, and like for me as a father, I like to push him a little bit. Um, and part of that is like to make him better. To part of that is to help him grow, as not only as an athlete but also as like a young man, and to go past some of those barriers, kind of thing. And right now he doesn't have a lot of stamina, and so like for me, it's just like, how do we build that stamina? And so like part of that is like, hey, yes, we'll get to sprinting one day. We will get there. But right now, we got to crawl. Or right now, we got to walk or jog or just run. Because let me tell you, the race is long. The race of life is long. And how you run it speaks volumes about you. Like, don't run it backwards. Don't run back. Run forward. Go after the prize. And like I want to go back to this. I have to constantly go back to this. Is like, I'm saying this because this is stuff that I am dealing with in my personal life, and I'm growing. I don't have all of the answers. But the cool thing is I know somebody who does. And this dude has been, man, just God has just been wrecking me. So, yeah. I would say the last thing that I've been dealing with is negative self-talk. And so I've been working through that and pushing through that, because part of that with negative self-talk comes distraction. And like the enemy, or just like even like people sometimes don't want to see you. They don't want to see the come up. They want to see you stay where you're at, because that's where they're at. Like I think about my bartender friend, right? There were people in his life that loved him as a party animal. Absolutely loved that. Absolutely killed it. And some of those people are still in that place. But he's like, he hit what equivalent of his rock bottom. And he's like, I can't stay here anymore. I can't be here anymore. Something has to change. And so there's still people that are like, yeah, in that rock bottom, in that place. And they want him back there. But he's like, nah, I ain't going back. I don't got time to go back. And that's where I'm at too, is that I ain't going back. I don't got time to go back. And so for my challenge for you, as you're listening to this podcast, it's a 30-minute episode, around there. I want to ask you the questions that I've been asking myself is like, what is one thing, 1%, that can make you 1% better? And then start. My mentor talked about habit stacking. And if you don't know what that is, we'll talk about it later. But how do you build on one habit to build on another habit, to build on another habit, to just go? And when you go, and you don't look back. You think about like horses, right? In horse races, they had these blinders, right? It's like, how do we get in that lane and get that tunnel vision where like, oh, we have homie over here that wants to distract us. Nah, we ain't doing that. We got a homie over here that wants to distract us. No, we ain't doing that. We got social media trying to, nah, we ain't doing that. Like we're moving forward and we're hitting it strong. And that's where I want to be, and I want to challenge you to be. Like if there's an area in your life that you're struggling with, get that self accountability, take that first step, go. And I'm not trying to sound all preachy. Like this is literally me talking to the camera, and I'm envisioning myself like I'm the camera. This is me talking to myself, because this is things that I need to grow in, things that I need to be better in. And so that's where we're at right now. But I got to end with this though. And I'm going to end with some goodness, some good stuff. So as you can see, if you're watching this, I'm wearing and rocking this really dope sweatshirt. It's a father built sweatshirt. And let me tell you, we are going to be dropping merch soon. I've gotten a lot of really, really cool just compliments on it. As I'm testing out merch, as I'm testing out, different blanks and stuff. And I'm excited. And not only that, but like either in October or November, we got something really, really cool that's coming up. And I'm excited, but building towards that. And so even though I haven't been, recording the podcast, so like I said, last 3 months, I've been building in the background and preparing like myself, my heart, to be consistent in this. And so, yeah, we got some cool guests coming on. We got some, really cool stuff happening, and I'm excited to tell you, but be looking out for the Father Built merch. We're going to be dropping a shirt. We're going to be dropping, a super limited edition sweatshirt. And then just another, sweatshirt. I'll give you, this is like the foundation series. And so, like this first is going to be kind of like our first drop. And, the first drop is just like the Father Built branding, where it has Father Built on the front and then, big hammer on the back. And that's our foundation series. So one of the shirts and one of the sweatshirts, like they'll never, like go out of stock. But part of the foundation series is we are dropping a super, super, super limited, like it's like a 2-week run basically of a Father Built sweatshirt. And so super excited about that, super excited to tell you more about that. And we have some other designs coming down the pipeline as well, that I'm excited to drop too. So a lot of cool things happening behind the scenes, but I want to jump on here and listen. I'm excited to see you guys next week. I'm excited to dive in, really kind of like dive into more of like things and tools and tricks on how to stay consistent, that I'm learning, that I'm growing in. And that's really going to be what the next episode is going to be about, unless I randomly switch it up. But it's really going to be about like, hey, how do we stay consistent? Like, how do we grow consistent? Like, how do we stay in that mindset of consistency? And so this is the 24th episode. And so we're 24 episodes in, and we're growing, and things are going to be happening and fast. Oh, and then I do got to make a shout out to not a sponsor, but as you can see, me, I'm wearing well, if you're listening, you can't see, but I'm wearing a mental wellness hat. And the cool thing about this hat is, and then there's another hat, a black one as well, but this one is mental wellness, and this is actually a collab hat done between Preaches, the sneaker store that I work for part-time, and then also Friends of Felix. And so it was really cool. We did a men's mental health forum last month, in the month of August, and we released these hats, and it's been cool to see them around Sioux Falls. And so if you're local to Sioux Falls and you're like, yo, I love that hat, it's red and white or red and cream, I guess, and you want a hat, stop into a Preacher's store. If you are not local to Sioux Falls, go to preaches.com and pick yourself up a hat. And then we do have a black one that says practice what you preach. And so Yeah, rock that hat too. That one's a little bit more, because that one's a limited run, and this hat is not. And so, yeah, check out that stuff as well. And so, yeah, that's all I want to end with. So I want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in to another Father Built podcast episode with your host, Bobby Peacock. I don't know why I said it like that. But this podcast is all about building up men in holiness, healthiness, and happiness, aiming to give men the tools to build their house of legacy. So go out and build your house. And always remember, peace, love, blessings. We out.